Hi everyone, here's the Chemist once again. Today I'm reviewing Flaubert's Parrot by Julian Barnes, a writer I don't know that very well. The only other novel of his I've read is The Sense of an Ending, but I knew of Flaubert's Parrot and of Barnes, more generally speaking, because this is one of the books that gets discussed most often when it comes to contemporary British fiction and specifically to British postmodernism. I believe this might be the key text in British postmodernism alongside maybe Fowler's The French Lieutenant's Woman. Is Flaubert's Parrot even a postmodern novel? Who knows? But then again, what is a postmodern novel? Who knows? But then again, is Flaubert's Parrot a novel? That's doubtful too. The point is, Flaubert's Parrot is what criticism, literary criticism, would read like in the world, in an ideal world. In a beautiful world where everything is perfect and there is no hate, there is no war, there is no hunger anywhere in the world. The dinosaurs walk the earth and they can speak and they hold generally progressive views. In that perfect ideal world, all literary and cultural criticism would read like Flaubert's Parrot. The instruction to your TV remote controlled would read like the actual criticism that we get nowadays in reality, and nothing whatsoever would read like your TV remote controls instructions. In that sense, considering that criticism constitutes such a large part of this book, then sure, this is a postmodern novel in that it is very self-conscious. Is it a novel at all? I'll go back to that question later into the video, but the point is that large chunks of Flaubert's Parrot are constituted by the main character's search for the specific parrot that inspired Flaubert when he was writing a short story whose title I could mispronounce in French, Un cœur simplice? A Simple Heart. Let's not embarrass ourselves any further, which is generally collected in the three stories. I read it in Italian several years ago. It's a beautiful piece of writing, and the effect of A Simple Heart within the collection, the other stories relating to the lives of important historical figures, saints and such, considering that this is the story of an old lady who becomes obsessed with a parrot. It's shocking and it's amazing and it's hilarious but touching, and it strikes a perfect balance between, again, comical and dead serious that only very good literature can represent. Only extremely, well, great literature, and of course I'm here filming a video telling you that Flaubert is a good writer, but well, I'll keep doing that, yeah. Only very good literature can represent those peculiar paradoxes and ambiguities of life in written form. So first suggestion, if you're going to read Flaubert's Parrot, do read Flaubert's three tales, three stories, tre racconti. I'm not sure how they're going to be published, probably three tales. First, it's a very short collection of short stories and it's priceless, you're going to love it. And possibly read Madame Bovary. And those two, by the way, are the only books by Flaubert I have personally read, and I'm not that very well read in French literature in general. And sure, this book, being a discussion of Flaubert's life, his personality, his biography, the more obscure areas of his life story, the more debated ones. Of course, it's going to touch upon so many other French writers, but Flaubert's Parrot, I believe, does a thing that Roberto Bolaño's Savage Detectives also does very well. Savage Detectives is a book that creates this impossible, beautiful world where somehow poetry and literature are so important that they create sort of an entire world. They kind of represent the most important thing in the life of the many different characters that people this novel, and in a way they almost constitute the entire background to the novel, so that these passionate people, passionate about fiction, about poetry, they go about their lives and they do what they do, and literature is always their guiding star. It becomes the reference of their lives in the way, I don't know, ideologies or addictions might be somebody's reference in the real world. But at the same time, in order to enjoy that novel, you do not necessarily need to know all the writers and all the poets and all the novelists mentioned in the book. I didn't, I'm positive a minority of readers other than Bolaño are going to know all those people, but I still appreciated the book nonetheless. And Flaubert's Parrot kind of does the same. Even if you don't know French literature that well, 19th century French literature, the difference between realism and naturalism, who Flaubert's friends were, all of this stuff is going to help, of course. It's going to give you a better understanding of the novel's discussions, but you can still get fascinated by this main character, this protagonist's discussion of his obsession with this age, with this character in literary history. The thing that he is so clearly aware of, the fact that he is so interested in the life of a dead foreigner, possibly even much more than in his own and in his own surroundings. The worst that's going to happen to you, and it happened to me, is that you're going to feel like learning French in order to read all of these people in the original, and there are worse things that can happen to you, surely. One of the greatest, most entertaining things about Flaubert's Parrot, other than it's written in an incredibly enjoyable style, it's filled with very strong opinions that are sometimes over the top, but they never make you lose your sympathy for the protagonist, and in this sense it's always engaging. But one of the most entertaining things about it, it's the way each chapter follows a different structure. Some chapter might be about the protagonist's quest for this parrot. Other chapters might be about a rather straightforward discussion of a certain topic in Flaubert's studies or in his biography. Other chapters might be in the form of a chronology, different types of chronology offered in order to make you reflect on the way we construct the identity of past people and our own, really. Other chapters are narrated from the perspective of people who were alive at the time of Flaubert. Other chapters, again, are in the form of sort of lists. There's a lot of talk these days about the fact that the list is the cultural form of these days, and as somebody who has filmed his fair share of top 5 stuff and top 10 books I read in a certain year, yeah, I like lists very much. I think they are great fun, and all of this great variety makes Flaubert's Parrot a pleasure to read. Even if you're not that keen on Flaubert, it makes it an incredibly rewarding novel. Is it a novel? Flaubert's Parrot is a novel. It is very much a novel. There is a story in here. Some people might complain. I don't know whether people did this, but some people, I see how some readers might complain that this is really a book about Flaubert with a rather weak story passed on here and there to call it a novel of sorts, and to justify the fact that it lacks a bibliography. I reject that idea. It is true that the story at the heart of the book only plays, well, it only gets a very, very limited amount of screen time or page time, namely, I guess, 1 chapter and just a few lines here and there, but there is a reason why that is. There's a reason why Flaubert's life fills up so much of this protagonist's life and of his thoughts, and it's a reason that's poignant, it's touching, it's heartbreaking, and the emotional payoff of the story, of the actual story that has nothing to do with Flaubert, the story of the protagonist and of the people he cares about, it was far from marginal. I'm going to leave Flaubert's Parrot knowing quite a lot about Flaubert, and hopefully I'll remember that stuff for a while, but the emotional impact of the protagonist's life, I'm positive is going to stay with me much, much longer. One final point, I've been talking a lot in the course of this video about the fact that this book is kind of partially a work of criticism. Well, Flaubert's Parrot spends some page time bashing critics, and the protagonist hates critics for a series of reasons which are understandable, And my suggestion as you read the book is take his hatred with a pinch of salt. I believe that the book, personally, it's my opinion and I might be wrong, maybe the protagonist's hate of criticism is supposed to be taken as straightforward as it is. I do believe that the novel as a whole, maybe the protagonist isn't necessarily aware of this paradox, but the novel, the text is, of the paradox that sure, it is bashing literary criticism at the same time as it is very much a work of literary criticism. If that makes sense, and it's one of those cute things you find all the time in postmodernism, and it's a must-read for postmodern fans and people interested in self-conscious, bizarre fiction, but also for people looking for a challenging but extremely entertaining, extremely rewarding read. If you've read any other novel by Barnes, or also if you've read Flaubert's Parrot, of course, let me know in the comments. If you're a big Flaubert fan, let me know in the comments also. And anyway, let me know about anything I've discussed in the video in the comment section below. Thank you as always for watching, guys. Bye, guys.